Look around you right now. Just take a second. The room you're sitting in, the screen you're watching, those distinct colors and really sharp lines. It all feels incredibly solid, right? Completely objective. We're so used to trusting our eyes to act like these high-definition cameras, just passively recording the physical world exactly as it is. But what if I told you that human vision is actually, well, largely a biological fabrication? In this explainer, we're going to unravel the exact mind-bending mechanisms your brain uses to actively construct, invent, and honestly hallucinate your waking reality. Let's dive in. So, do you see the world as it really is? We all walk around with this unwavering confidence in our own vision. But the truth? The answer to that question is a resounding absolute no. Think about it. The light that's bouncing off your environment and entering your pupils right now, it's just raw, chaotic data. It's incredibly messy. It's totally incomplete. What you're actually experiencing, what you are seeing right at this very second, isn't reality itself. It's more like a highly edited, heavily filtered story that your mind is constantly telling you. And sometimes, that story is just pure fiction. See, there's this constant, relentless conflict happening inside your head every single waking millisecond. On one side, you've got your actual physical visual cues, those raw photons of light literally hitting your retina. But on the other side, you have your brain's best guess. To really understand this battle, look no further than the famous hollow mask illusion. Imagine you're looking at the inside of a hollowed-out concave mask of a human face. The physical visual cues, like the light and the shadows, they clearly show that the face goes inward. But your brain? It completely ignores that physical reality and absolutely forces you to see a normal, convex face pushing outward. Your brain is making its best guess, and honestly, its guesses almost always win. Which brings us to this unavoidable, maybe slightly uncomfortable fact. Your brain is a serial hallucinator. Seriously, it is not some passive observer just taking things in. It's an active, aggressive simulation engine. It doesn't just receive reality, it generates it. Whenever the raw data from your eyes is confusing or ambiguous or missing pieces, your brain doesn't just throw up a biological error message or show you a blurry patch. Now, it rapidly hallucinates a solution. It fills in the blanks, it invents shapes, it invents colors, it even invents depth where absolutely none exists. And it does this whole shebang so quickly and so seamlessly, you literally never even realize it's happening. Well, until the system glitches. And it's those glitches that are so fascinating. They perfectly illustrate what happens when sensory failures occur. Beyond the hollow face illusion, we have wild anomalies like the lilac chaser. That's this optical illusion where staring at a cross in the center of a screen makes these moving purple dots just magically disappear, and they're replaced by a floating green dot that doesn't even physically exist. No way, right? Or take mock bands, where your brain literally invents dark and light shadows right where two different shades of gray meet. Now, we really shouldn't think of these as just cheap magic tricks. They actually expose the underlying source code of our visual matrix. They reveal the exact moments where your brain's hallucination engine stumbles, basically giving us a backstage pass to peek behind the curtain of human perception. Okay, so how does this engine actually work? Well, imagine your brain as a frantic movie director who's locked inside a pitch-black room, your skull. They can't see the outside world directly at all. They're just receiving millions of chaotic, jumbled electrical signals piped in from your optic nerve. And from this massive pile of messy data, our poor director has to instantly construct a coherent movie set, shout action, and make the whole thing make sense to you in real time. Without the luxury of, waiting around for all the facts to come in, the brain has to rely on past experiences, massive assumptions, and biological shortcuts to just build the scene on the fly. And that brings us to our first major scientific concept here, top-down knowledge. This is basically the brain's ultimate shortcut. It happens when your prior knowledge completely overrides the actual physical visual cues coming from your eyes. Let's go back to that hollow face illusion for a second. Think about it. Throughout your entire life, literally every single face you have ever seen has been convex, right? Noses stick out, cheeks push forward. So your brain possesses this massive, ingrained database stating that faces push outward, period. So when it's suddenly confronted with a strange, concave, hollow mask, your brain goes straight to top-down knowledge. It checks the database, completely ignores the unusual physical cues right in front of it, and forcefully overrides your vision to show you what it mathematically assumes simply must be there. But top-down knowledge definitely isn't the only tool in the toolbox. We also rely heavily on what's called an edge detection system. This is a biological mechanism hardwired right into your visual cortex, and its job is to deliberately exaggerate contrast at borders. Remember the mock band sensory failure we just talked about? This is the exact science behind it. When you look at two different shades of gray placed right next to each other, your visual system artificially lightens the lighter shade and darkens the darker shade right at the boundary line. It is literally hallucinating a gradient that isn't physically there. Now, why on earth would it do that? Because out in the wild, your survival depends on instantly recognizing the edge of a cliff, the outline of a predator in the bushes, or the shape of a piece of fruit. Your brain happily sacrifices physical accuracy for biological utility. Basically, it alters reality just to keep you safe. All of this leads us to this profound, honestly staggering fundamental truth about human perception. It is inference rather than sight. I really want you to let those words sink in for a moment. What you are doing right now as you watch this explainer is not strictly seeing. You are inferring. You are experiencing an incredibly fast, highly educated guess that's based on a combination of raw data, that top-down knowledge, and your biological edge detection systems. Your entire waking life is just a continuous, seamless prediction of what the world probably looks like. It's constantly being updated and refined by that frantic director inside your head. It's truly a masterpiece of biological inference. So, we've covered a ton of ground today, but I want to leave you with one final, deeply provocative question. If your vision, the sense you probably rely on and trust more than any other, is really just a highly calibrated best guess, a biological hallucination, what else is your brain making up right now? What about your memories, your perception of time passing, or even your understanding of other people? Realizing that the solid, dependable world you see is really just a story written by your brain kind of changes how you experience absolutely everything, doesn't it? Thanks for joining me for this explainer today. And hey, keep an eye out for those glitches in your own matrix.